Hey, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakak Kwadash. Double honors to the elder apostles and elder bishops of Great Millstone, who rule very well, very beautifully. Double salutations to the Akim out here pushing this gospel in truth and in sincerity to the best of their ability, given to them by Yahweh Bahashem El Shai. Peace, blessings, and salutations unto the elect scattered abroad. May the election, Yahweh Bahashem El Shai, Lord willing, fall upon all your houses, man. But hey, this lesson is going to go into, it's going to be a quick lesson, Lord will. Lord will be edifying, Lord will straight to the point. But this is ultimately going into, the tension that is between the U.S. and Iran as we speak, man. And tensions are growing. You look right here, I have this pulled up. This is on newsnow.co.uk, and y'all can look it up, man, and it gives you, pretty much like a, by the hour update, on, you basically, the talks, because America and Iran are trying to, or at least America's trying to spark back up that nuclear deal that they had, I think it was back in 2015 with Iran, and things are not looking so hot, man, Now we can go down and look at, some of the things that have been happening, in the last hour, last 2 hours, last 4 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours, and that's as far as it goes, or it goes a little bit more, but, as far as, updates, immediately, this is as far as it goes, and talks have ultimately been paused, but when you read on some of these things, it ultimately goes into how, how America, or sorry, the talks that happened between America and Iran didn't go so well, man. So let's read up a little bit. If you look at right here, it says 6 hours, and you look at the bottom, it says Iran nuclear talks not going so well. U.S. National Security Advisor, right? So they're not going so well at all, man. It says let's read a little bit more. It says, reading up, it says last 4 hours, you go down to the second one, it says latest round of nuclear talks, worse than they should have been, senior U.S. diplomat, right? So all these talks, them talking about, reestablishing this nuclear deal that they had, or nuclear pact that they had, it's not going so well, man, Why? Because America is hated, man. America, none of these nations like America, man. America is wicked as hell, man. A lot of these nations, are starting to see that America is a sinful ass place, that America is, built on and established and by lies, man, and has been deceiving them, for ultimately decades, hundreds of years, man, So these nations are ultimately seeing that bullshit, seeing right through the fucking facade of America and all the words that America, uses, man. Because America, start with, with the fucking Edomites, man. These Edomites, hey, they're real fucking slick, man. That's why they created, English, man, which is, it's basically a language of nothing but catch-22s, and, it's basically just a dead language, man. Because anything you say, you could turn around and say the same thing a different way, but it'll you know what I mean? It'll cut itself, but people won't know. You could basically, say a whole bunch of, big ass words and go right over somebody's head, man. And mean something so simple as, you're basically fucked, like, whatever words it may be, man. So hey, people are starting to understand this shit, man. Esau Edom, he's not able to, continue to deceive, man. The scriptures tell you in Isaiah the 19th chapter, man, that his counsel shall fail, man. Meaning his left hand side, witchcraft and stuff like that, because Esau Edom needs witchcraft, in order to, continue to deceive. But that shit's failing him, man. All his wisdom is leaving his ass, man. But yeah, again, this situation between America and Iran is ultimately getting worse, man. And tensions are rising, and eventually, because America, when they throw, because this is what's happening, man, because they don't want to enter into a deal with America. America's throwing sanctions on, Iran, which if you go into sanctions just means, taxes, man, which is ultimately, it's like extremely hiking up the price, making it to where, this country can't pay those certain prices, man, which ultimately, fucks them in the end because, now they're not able to supply to their own people. Their own people start rioting. It basically destroys the economy, you know. It hinders the economy, and a lot of nations, they try to avoid this type of thing, man. So what do? They get in bed with America and set up these deals, and America threatens sanctioning them, in all different types of ways. So as of right now, Iran saying fuck this shit, man. We're gonna beat your sanctions, while America's making their sanctions harsher and harsher until Iran ultimately bends to their will. Iran's sitting here like, what, you keep up with that sanction shit, you're gonna have a problem, man. Not too long ago, I can't remember what the leader, prime minister, I think it was, he said that if America ultimately keeps on doing what it's doing, America's teeth is gonna get crushed in its mouth, man. So that spirit of fuck America, and you keep doing what you're doing, we're gonna fuck you up type attitude is coming upon these Iranians, man, really Persians, man, and eventually it's going to lead into a third world war, man, and it's gonna get it's like a snowball. As of right now, it's a snowball that's rolling downhill, getting bigger and bigger and bigger, man. And eventually, Russia's gonna get involved, which is gonna be the main player of the destruction of America, man. Because Iran and Russia, they're in bed with each other, man. They're extremely in bed with each other, man. So let's just grab a few scriptures, man, and we'll reel this in, because again, that destruction is coming to America, and this is more like a World War III update, man, or a tension, between two nations update, which will eventually lead into that World War III, So again, you can go to that news site, News Now, keeps you updated. All right, this is Ezekiel chapter 38 and verse 1. We'll start at verse 1, man. We're going to read down a little bit. This says, "And the word of the Lord, Yahweh Hashem El Shaddai, came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog." Right, man. And Gog, Gog goes into, ultimately Russia, man. It goes into Russia, what we know today as Russia. It says, "Son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and prophesied against him. And say, Thus saith the Lord Yahweh power, Behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal." Right, which those that dwell in the land of Gog right now are the Edomites, man. Previously that wasn't their land, but they ultimately they went in there, and Esau Edom got the fatness, or the blessing of the fatness and the blessing of the sword, man. Esau Edom's been using the sword and ultimately establishing himself, in all these places that weren't his, because originally, it wasn't, Esau's land, but now it is. So this is what it's talking about. It's really against the Edomites, man. Those that dwell in Gog right now, Verse 4, it says, "I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws." And that's meaning what, man? We're turning Russia, Gog, back into that Soviet era type attitude, man. Because as of right now, Russia is in more docile, more political type, stance right now, type attitude, but the Lord Yahweh Hashem El Shaddai is turning things around, man. He's putting them back in that Soviet type, that Cold War type era, man, where they're more aggressive, and more, let's fucking fight about it, man. Stop talking to me, let's fight about it. This is the attitude that's eventually going to be put back on, Russia, man. Which we're already starting to see that, start to, the faucet being turned on, man, as far as that attitude coming back, man. Russia's over here talking about, drawing red lines, and if you cross it, this, that, and the third's going to happen, So they're getting back into that, man. It says, "And I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth in all thine army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords." And we're already starting to see that, man. Russia's, putting, what do they say, 125 or 175,000, military members, on the border of Russia and Ukraine, So Russia's, starting to, get back into that, that fighting spirit, man, and soon it's going to be the whole army of Russia, man. It says Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya with them, all of them with shield and helmet. Now I want to go into that word Persia, man. Because the Persians is talking about Iran, which is the country that we're talking about that has growing tension with America. Now I want to go right here, and this proves that Iran is previously called Persia. So this is what it's talking about, right? It says Iran. This is in the Wikipedia. It says Iran, Persian. It says also called Persia, right? So this country that America is ultimately having tensions with, building tensions with, so like the tension is building between America and Iran. Guess what? Iran is a ally of Russia, man. And we had talked about that earlier. Well, this is more proof, man. That this nation is ultimately going to band up with Russia and come against America, aka Babylon's, in the scriptures, man. So let's go back. We just read a little bit. I just wanted to get that point out and across. It says, verse 5, it says, Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya with them, all of them with shield and helmet, right? Ready to fight, man. It says Gomer, which is going into Turkey, right? It says, and all his bands, the house of Togomar of the north quarters, and all his bands, and many people with thee, right? So this is talking about many different nations, and their armies gathering up on the side of Russia to ultimately go up against America, man. Now I want to go back and prove this. This is Jeremiah, proving that they're ultimately coming up against America. This is Jeremiah, the 50th verse, starting at the 9th chapter. And I'm just going to read the 9th verse. It says, Jeremiah 50 and 9, it says, for lo, meaning look, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon, which we know America is Babylon. More and more people nowadays are ultimately starting to understand that, right? So America is Babylon. It says, for lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon an assembly of great nations from the north country. And that north country will be Russia, man, and all that assembly of great nations is all those allies that are going to be on the side of Russia, man. Because on top of that, a lot of America's allies are ultimately going to turn against America and side with, that northern country, which would be America. Which would be Russia. A lot of America's allies are going to side with the northern country, being Russia, and come up against Babylon, man. It says, and they shall set themselves in array against her, meaning the whore, the mother of all harlots, Babylon the Great, right? And so from then she shall be taken. Their arrows, meaning their ICBM nuclear missiles, shall be as of a mighty expert man. None shall return in vain, right, man? A mighty expert man, meaning what, man? Meaning they're going to be shot off from one end of the earth, and they're going to reach their destination, man, and they're not going to miss, as we read in 2nd Esdras, the 13th chapter, 2nd Esdras, the 16th chapter, the 13th verse, Slakia. 2nd Esdras, the 16th chapter, the 13th verse, right? So now I want to go and read right from home. Yeah, let's go back to Ezekiel, the 38th chapter, and we'll read verse 7. It says, be thou prepared, and prepare thyself, thou and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them. And it's talking about, basically a laundry list of nations that Magog, Russia, is going to be a guard unto, man. Because we started to see a little bit of that when Israel and Gaza, ultimately started to get into it, man. What did Russia jump in and say? He ultimately said, hey, if Israel keeps, bombing, Gaza, this, that, and the third. I think it was Hamas, if I'm not mistaken. But that tension was growing, and they were actually firing rockets and destroying, Gaza, man. And Russia came out and said, if Israel keeps doing what they're doing, they're gonna have no choice but to fucking, to fight back, man. So that was, that's Russia, proving that he's a guard unto all these nations, man. While dealing with the tension between America and Iran, eventually this is gonna spiral out of control. America is gonna ultimately try and go to war with Iran over, this, that, and the third, man. because of fears that Iran might strike them with a nuclear missile, or whatever it may be. you know so America's gonna fire first before they get start fighting back before they get hit. That's what America's like basically a weak, scared dog in a corner, man. What is a dog gonna do when you start to back it into a corner? It's gonna attack, man. But in America's case, America's weak, compared to all these other nations, man. So America's gonna try and lash out, but they're gonna get their ass beat, man. So this is basically what it's boiling down to, right? And Russia is ultimately going to step in and say, no, you fucked up, man. That's like messing with somebody's little brother, man, and their big brother, comes up and jacks you up, man, and you're nowhere near the same size as the big brother, because that's what's going to happen, man. That's Russia being a guard unto these other nations. Verse 8 says, and after many days thou shalt be visited, in the latter years thou shalt come into the land that is brought back from the sword, and is gathered out of many people against the mountains of Israel, which have been always waste, but it is brought forth out of the nations, and they shall dwell safely, all of them. That's talking about the elect of the nation Israel dwelling safely, right? Verse 9, it says, thou shalt ascend and come like a storm, thou shalt be like a cloud to cover the land, thou and all thy bands, and many people with thee. We read that in Jeremiah the 50th chapter, the 9th verse, that all these nations are going to be set round about against Babylon, and they're going to fire their arrows, man. And those arrows are ultimately going to destroy America, man. This is what it's coming down to, man. And we're seeing that build up, man. We're seeing that build up of the destruction of America right before our eyes, man. And I want to grab this last precept. I didn't have too many precepts, man. But this is Joel 3 and verse 9. Joel 3 and 9, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war. And war is being prepared, man. As we watch what's going on between certain nations, man, as we watch what's going on between, America and Russia, America, Iran, America and China, which Russia and China are ultimately entering into a deal, man. They're confederate against America, and against Ukraine, and entering into NATO, man. They're getting all these powers are gathering up together, man. That's an assembly of great nations, man. With Russia leading the way, man. So a war is being prepared on many different fronts against America, man, and against Israel, man. Because Israel is going to be ultimately fired on as well. Israel has to be cleansed of the heathens that are there, in the land of Israel, man. In the chosen land. That land has to be cleansed before it's built back up. America is going to be destroyed, and it'll never be built back up again. But Israel will be destroyed, and it'll be built back up. In the kingdom, man. It says, proclaiming this among the Gentiles, prepare war, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. And this is exactly what's happening, man. We're seeing this, again, the more we pay attention, the more of these nations are ultimately gearing up for war, man. You got America sending missile defense systems, as well as, missiles and stuff like that, and gear over to Ukraine, And then on top of that, you got a lot of nations ultimately gathering up in the Persian Gulf, and so on and so forth, man. This is what's coming, man. You can't run away from prophecy, because prophecy always will come to pass, man. As the Lord Yahweh Shem Al Shai said, man, my word shall not return unto me void, man. But it will accomplish thereto I am sent it. So you best believe the Lord Yahweh Shem Al Shai has a plan, and He's gonna execute that plan perfectly, man. It says right here, beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say I am strong. And that's exactly what's happening, man. All these nations, because they're sitting here getting in bed with Russia, Russia, has a very, very strong military, if not the strong, or at least, their nuclear arsenal and stuff like that. They have a very strong military and very, a high missile and nuclear missile power, man. All these nations are getting in bed with Russia, And even those that are allies of America are leaving the bed with America and getting in bed with Russia, man. And now they're like, oh, we have a guard, man. We have a protector. So all these nations are looking at America through the glass and lifting up their nose with their tongue out and putting their thumbs in their ears, wiggling their fingers, and so on and so forth, man. Mocking at America, man. These nations are not, they're not in under that enchantment of America no more, man. These nations are looking at America like, who the fuck is you? But this is what's going on. Verse 11, it says, assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about, thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord. And again, this is what's happening, man. The Lord Yahweh Shem El Shai is destroying the council, of Esau, Edom, and sending down the angels to stir up the minds of these nations, man. Getting that main factor, which would be Russia, the main factor of America's destruction, Russia, back into that mindset of, fuck America, man. They make one wrong move, I'm ready to swing, type attitude, man. And this is what's happening, man. But let me end it out right here. This is Habakkuk, 2nd chapter. And yeah, the 3rd verse. It says, for the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come, it will not tarry. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Shem El Shai, Bashim Kakodash. Double honors to the other apostles and other bishops of Great Millstone, who rule very well, very beautifully. Double salutations to the Hakim out here pushing this gospel and truth and in sincerity to the best of their ability given to them by Yahweh Shem El Shai. Peace, blessings, and salutations to the elect scattered abroad. May the election of Yahweh Shem El Shai, Lord, willing upon our houses. I want to say Kwame Yasharala and Abba Shalom.